Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorraine County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning, everyone. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners for our meeting on March 6th. Wow. We have 2029 down here, 2019.
Oh, yeah.
I know I'm getting old. I don't want to get old that fast, but okay. And our our inspirational word for the day: love one another with mutual affection, outdo one another in showing honor. And we have our dog this morning.
You got treats? Tomorrow? Okay, thanks. Come on, baby. Whoa. Boy, he's a strong little puppy. We have, I don't know if it's a pit mix, and he has been snuggling everybody in here today. He is such a little sweetheart. He's about a year old. He is available tomorrow. Hi, so let everyone see how pretty you are. He is a lot of fun. So if you're interested in him, come down to the kennel, pick him up tomorrow. If not, you can check us out on Facebook or on the website, and we have 17 other dogs available. So come check him out. He's a great little guy. Make you a great addition to your family. Thanks.
Madam Clerk?
Do you want to do the proclamation for
That's
DD?
what I was thinking we would do. So, yeah, Dr. Fisher, if you would come up to one of the podiums there. I know the board would like to proclaim March as Developmental Disabilities Month, and we can't thank you enough for all that you do. And will you give us a quick update this morning, kind of a progress report?
Okay, well, thank you so much, and I'd like to say a special hello to Commissioner Sweda. You were already behind the podium there when I noticed you in the room, but we'd like to have you out to see Murray Ridge at some point and welcome you to the Board of County Commissioners. I know that Ted Kalo and Lori Kikowski, Matt Lundy have been huge supporters of Murray Ridge Center. So
great, I'll look forward to that, and thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month is really about recognizing the contributions that people with developmental disabilities make in our community. And people who are eligible for services from Murray Ridge contribute every day as members of the workforce, as volunteers, as devoted friends, artists, performers, good neighbors. They, have very many valued roles within our community. And the resolution that we've supplied outlines, our continuum of lifelong services and has some statistics and numbers. But one of the things I wanted to mention, particularly with the new commissioner here today, is that we have in recognition of our 50th anniversary in 2017, started an initiative at Murray Ridge called the Giving Back Program. And during the last couple of years, we have had hundreds of our adult program participants out giving back to the community as volunteers in hundreds of different ways. So we're very, very proud of that, and we plan to continue with that. I have a few friends here with me today, and I'd like to use their stories to tell you a little bit about the programs that we deliver at Murray Ridge Center. One of our Murray Ridge School students who is with us is Diane Davis, and she's actually 10 years old, and she's in the intermediate wing at Murray Ridge School. She's an absolute showstopper, and Diane has a rare genetic syndrome, right? Rubinstein syndrome?
Yeah.
And she was in our early intervention program as an infant, and then went back to the Lorraine City Schools, and they, after a few years, referred her back to the Murray Ridge School. So she has been with us ever since, and we had a good time talking this morning, and I'm so impressed with her colorful hair, hair bands there. I understand that she is a very, very good student, and she is also a very good friend, and she functions as a greeter in her classroom. So she would like to say a few words to the commissioners.
Okay.
Want to try to talk right into there?
Hi.
Good morning, Diane.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name's Diane. I go to Murray Ridge School. You can see my teachers.
Yay.
Yes.
What's your favorite part? What do you like best about school?
My school is awesome.
All right.
Oh, good.
Very good.
You know what else is awesome? Your smile. I love that.
Love her smile.
And she did a good job on the Pledge of Allegiance. I heard her.
Yes, yes. Well, she's our future spokesperson for Murray Ridge. I also have two adult consumers here with me today, and I'd like to just very quickly have Mickey McCann, one of our service and support administrators, give a wave. She is the service and support administrator for Ashley Tarrant, and I don't always have an opportunity to talk about our service and support administration function at Murray Ridge Center, but it is a very, very sort of important behind-the-scenes function. It's not a direct service function, but it is critical to the direct services that people receive, either through Murray Ridge Center or through a variety of other providers within the community. So our service and support administrators write service plans, help individuals to identify their desired outcomes and work towards those things. And they also play a critical role with service monitoring. So I just wanted to give a nod to our service and support administrators. Now, Ashley Tarrant is going to tell you a few things about herself, but I just wanted to point out that she really highlights the different types of vocational services that we offer at Murray Ridge Center. She goes to our Elyria Opportunity and Vocational Center, so she's involved with some vocational training and work at that site. She also participates on a supervised work crew in the community through Murray Ridge Production Center at Oberlin College, and was recently hired by Burger King, and that's what we call community employment. You've arrived, you're actually hired by a business in the community, and Murray Ridge provides assistance to help an individual become successful in those settings, and then sort of fades out. She's also involved with our Special Olympics program. I think she does several sports, and is also a spokesperson in our self-advocacy program. She has received training on how to advocate for the things that she wants, in her life, and she also helps other program participants to advocate for themselves. So she does an awfully lot of important things at Murray Ridge. And with that, Ashley, would you come up and say a few words?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Ashley Tarrant. I'm 24 years old. I attend Murray Ridge Workshop. I work at the college. I'm a runner at the college. I have a repetitive job at Burger King. I does the dish room, the bathroom, and the dining room. And I'm going to train on to be a cash register. I does Hickman Louder, the community appointment. I does Avon Courthouse. I does Sheffield Courthouse, and I does First Church in Oberlin. I'm trying to be a competitive person, trying to work outside jobs instead of being in the workshop. I love my friends though. My best friends that always has my back, but that's me.
You're amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
good. Very busy.
That's very brave to talk in front of a crowd. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And I love your style too. I want that sweater.
And Ashley, you live with your brother and sister-in-law, correct? So Ashley does live in the family home, and more than half of the adults that we serve still live with their families. And families are critical. It's a critical partnership. We try to support families through programs like our Family Support Program to give a little assistance to make those living arrangements feasible. Other people have aged parents, and they need to live in residential settings, and that's the case of Marty Hunt, who is also with me today. Marty, is it okay if I tell them your age?
Yeah.
Okay, because I always ask, because I'm always not too keen on having my age. But Marty is 55, and so you can do the math, but his parents are older, and he needed to move out of the family home a number of years ago. So he does receive services in a supported living setting, and that is an arrangement where it's a private provider that delivers the services, but they're actually funded through a Medicaid waiver, but the county board pays the non-federal share of the Medicaid services, and his service and support administrator writes his service plan, helps him pick a provider, and also monitors his services. Actually, I'd like to give a nod to Teresa, who is Marty's service and support administrator, and she's actually also a behavior support analyst, so that's an important function as well, and she performs both roles. A couple other things about Marty, and he can really tell you about himself very well, but he's working in a couple of these supervised work crews in the community that we assist with, I think at Oberlin College and the county jail. He actually started with us many, many years ago. I've known Marty for about 30 years myself, and Marty actually started with us many years ago at our Murray Ridge School. So without any further ado, I'd like to have Marty come up and tell you a little bit about himself.
I'm Marty Hunt. I was born and raised in Grafton Township. When I first started going to kindergarten, I went on a Monday, September 28, 1968. I went to Murray Ridge School in November of 1969. I've known the history of Elyria from little to growing up. I also, when I was 10 years old, I went to, it was about the third week of August on a Friday, went down to Dover, Ohio, at the Dover Steam Show, rode on the water wagon, hauling water for the steam engine on the infield. That was back in 1974. Also, back April 21st, a guy named Jamie Walder worked at my home. We went to, but it was an engine show. It was inside of the building. It was on a Saturday, April 22nd, 2016. And, but I am a member to the LaGrange Engine Club. So I don't, other than that, I was in a bus accident that happened on Monday, October 4th, 2010. It happened right across from the John Deere. It happened one time. And, so, it's hard to get over that. But I guess that'll be it.
Do you want to tell me what you're on our Special Olympics committee for many years?
I was on the Special Olympic Committee. I started out with Bob Burkhart, Dr. Painter, when I first started out. And,
You did a nice job on that, didn't you?
But other than that, I go home on the weekends. My mom coming this year. My mom's going to be 93.
Wow.
Next month, my dad will be. If my dad was still living, he'd be 92.
Wow.
Thank you for coming.
Keep up the good work, Marty.
Thank you so very much. Marty was wonderful. He was a decision maker on our Special Olympics board subcommittee, so he's really helped out at the Ridge for many years.
He's
Got a good memory too.
Yes, he does.
I'm jealous, Amber. I can't remember what I did last Friday.
I know, right? So, yeah. So again, thank you so much for having us out, and we really look forward to this every year. And it's really special for the people who are able to come and present. So we thank you so much for your support and for this opportunity.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a proclamation for you here. First, want to thank Diane, Ashley, and Marty. You guys are fantastic. Great. Thanks for sharing your stories with us. We wish you continued success. We have a proclamation here in the matter of proclaiming March 2019 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month throughout Lorraine County. Whereas Murray Ridge Center recently celebrated its 51st year providing services to Lorraine County children and adults with developmental disabilities and their families. And whereas 782 infants and toddlers with suspected developmental delays received early intervention services in 2018. Also in 2018, 176 students with developmental disabilities received educational services in early childhood, primary, intermediate, and senior classes at Murray Ridge School. Now, therefore, we, Matt Lundy, Laura Kokoski, Sharon Sweda, members of the Board of the Lorraine County Commissioners, do hereby recognize Lorraine County Board of Developmental Disabilities and declare the month of March 2019 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in honor of the sizable contribution made to the welfare of Lorraine County children and adults with special needs, signed on this 6th day of March 2019 by the Commissioners. We'll come down and present this to you and maybe take a picture with you. Or come down.
Oh, she gave it a back now.
Make sure that goes back to the office, Dr. Fisher, okay? Okay, Madam Clerk, we'll start with
Under Resolutions Number 1, Investments.
so move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Transfers.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Mr. Lundy? Okay. I didn't hear it. I was like, wait a minute. Oh. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Advances and repayments.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Requisitions.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Travel.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Bills?
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Sueda?
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of the County Commissioners.
County Administrator, Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. I do have a potential hire at the crime lab I wish to discuss with the board. Also, pending negotiations upcoming in the Children's Services Department. And one legal matter and 2 potential purchase sale of real estate. All those matters are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussion, so I'd ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting, we go into executive session and we discuss those matters that I've identified. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the minutes of February 27th.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Sueda?
Aye.
Authorize payment of $703 to Debbie Lynn Ward, Medina, for indigent veteran Donald Francis Lane in Grafton, effective in Columbus in accordance with the ORC 5901.25.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Sueda?
Aye.
Urge the state to abandon the failed school takeover policy under HB 70 and return Lorraine City Schools to local control so that local accountability is restored and transparency is reestablished. Board believes this is of urgent concern to the residents of our county's largest city and desires this change to produce a positive learning environment for students to achieve educational success, improving their opportunity for a bright economic future.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
I would just ask if our newest member, Commissioner Sueda, would read the resolution.
I'll be happy to. Whereas the goal of every community is for its students to excel at education. A successful education is critical for the future of our children and the economic future of our county and state. Whereas House Bill 70 created a school system takeover of Lorraine City Schools by the state. The takeover policy has eliminated local control. Whereas in the past 18 months, HB 70 has disrupted the learning environment for students, has created a loss of confidence in the education system by parents and educators, and has failed to provide transparency and accountability to taxpayers and voters in Lorraine. Such actions pose a threat to future supportive levy initiatives needed to fund schools, creating a greater chance for financial distress in the near future. Whereas students, families, teachers, and community leaders believe Lorraine schools face an education emergency and a future financial emergency created by HB 70, the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners urge Governor Mike DeWine and state legislators to abandon the failed school takeover policy. The board also urges the state to return the schools to local control so that local accountability is restored and transparency is reestablished. The board believes this need is of urgent concern to the residents of our county's largest city. Most of all, the board desires this change to produce a positive learning environment for students to achieve educational success, improving their opportunity for a bright economic future.
And as that resolution stresses, and I think as we've stressed in our comments before, it's about the students. We need to check the egos and the personalities and all those things. But the bottom line is it's always about the students and their success. I think whether you live in the city of Lorraine or don't live in the city of Lorraine, you've been able to see how disruptive House Bill 70 has been. I think it was a big initiative pushed by the previous governor. I don't believe the new governor endorses this initiative. The bottom line is that we need an environment where the students can learn, where the teachers feel appreciated, where the families feel that their children are succeeding. And House Bill 70 certainly has not created that environment. I don't know of any governmental leader who would want to stand in front of a room and say that we're going to take away all local control and local accountability and take away transparency and think that that could possibly be accepted by taxpayers or be a good idea for families, let alone for students. So we realize we don't have a direct vote on this whole matter. However, it is our county's largest city. Should things continue down the path that they're going now, I certainly think it would be difficult for the community to get a levy passed, which would lead to a financial emergency in addition to what is believed to be an education emergency taking place in the city. and would not bode well for the county's largest city. So once again, it's all about the children. It's about the children succeeding, and HB 70 has been a failed plan. We need to return local control to the schools, and transparency to be reestablished. Those are just some of my thoughts. Others?
Well, and I've shared with the commissioners prior, I'd been pretty close to that situation through the past year. And watching that evolve, it was almost like watching a train wreck, because for every action there was a counteraction, and none of them were congruent with each other. The damage that it's doing to the environment within the classroom is what concerns me most, aside from the economic disaster that it poses. When a teacher's in angst, her students are in angst. And we've had that environment within the Lorraine City Schools over this past almost 18 months, I believe it is. And the indicators are there that this was not the solution for whatever ills they were attempting to cure. And I am just grateful that we're going to take a voice, and we're going to pitch in and try to urge lawmakers to come to common sense on this. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Solid Waste approve issuance of waivers for designation pursuant to standard form of waiver agreement for 1 year, March 1st, 2019 to February 28, 2020, for the following companies: for Breezy Disposal, Inc., Rumpke, Waste Management of Ohio, Inc., Kimball Recycling and Disposal, Pete & Pete Container Services, Inc., Legacy Waste and Recycling, Cooper Disposal and Republic Services.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Commissioner, you want to have any conversation on that?
We looked, I asked you to look into this, and you did, and I feel comfortable with going forward with the waivers on all these companies.
Okay.
Unless you have any additional comments. Did you find out anything else after we talked yesterday?
No, not particularly. Maybe we want to explain the waiver process for
Okay.
folks that may not understand what we're waivering.
Okay.
Pardon me, this cold just keeps lingering.
I know, it's happening for everybody.
In order for waste haulers to take product that's generated within the boundaries of the county outside to a landfill, they have to get a waiver. Absent the waiver, they have to use the county landfill. Because they're in competition, lots of haulers have their own facility or transfer points that they drop the product at, and then they take it on to a different landfill. How their business model stacks up is up to them. What makes sense for them. Clearly, Republic would like to have in-county waste that's waste generated here put into the landfill here, but they also do accept out-of-county a product from the adjoining counties when they can do so. So here's our problem: if we don't grant a waiver and we force them to use a single location, of course that competitive edge is removed from the community on fees. Secondly, it would tend to fill the landfill faster. However, if we allow them to take it out of the county, we still get the same amount of fees as if they were dumping it in the county because we've granted the waiver. But that also weakens Republic a little bit, who's a good employer in our community. So it's a balancing act with this. There really isn't a super right answer. There's not a super wrong answer. It's just one of those things. I know that Republic Hauling is really concerned about a new potential landfill in Medina County, which is going to be in the northern end of Medina County. It's going to compete heavily with their facility in Russia Township. And we have to look at that, recognizing that these waivers are only for a year. We stopped the multi-year waivers. And secondly, that facility isn't open yet, but it will open sometime this year.
Well, that was the concern, that why I asked to hold it, because that facility is not permitted by the EPA yet.
If it's not, but it's not permitted. I'm sorry, I interrupt you.
But
If it's not
no.
permitted, they can't put waste in it, so it doesn't really affect our waiver. I'm surprised that some of the waste haulers here are able to compete aggressively with Republic since their landfill is here, but some of the communities are not on Republic hauling. And some of our bigger municipalities, like Elyria, still provides their own service with their own crews. So it's a mixed bag. It doesn't affect the revenue into the solid waste department, but it does have a business impact on all of those involved, and it also has a cost impact on the competitiveness within our communities. So you've asked me many times about this, and I've given you a lot of right answers, and you only wanted one right answer. I wasn't able to do that because it really is a very weak situation.
Like you said, it may have a negative impact on our dump, so the landfill will get filled up quicker if we don't allow for waivers. And
now, I will tell you that one of the biggest problems facing the community with the haulers is yard waste. It's gotten even bigger with the shutdown, or at least hopefully temporary shutdown of the Avon facility. I don't know that Republic has any place to take their yard waste. It's not a problem right now, but it's going to be a problem in the spring. They have asked the Ohio EPA to lift the ban on dumping yard waste into the landfill. We have sent a letter weighing in on that, objecting to any potential lifting of that ban. That really turns the clock back on recycling 20 years, and all the progress that's been made in that area. And once again, it tends to fill the landfill that much quicker. And the landfill is a resource in our community, albeit a private one. It's still a resource. Those communities that do not have a landfill tend to have higher rates to remove the product from their communities. And again, that's another balancing act. We'll see where it goes. I will tell you, I do have our consultants working on looking to once again visit whether we should be in the yard waste collection business. We looked at it 2 times in the last 5 or 6 years. It didn't make a lot of sense. Most of that was location problem. You need several acres in order to be central, that is, you can get people to bring yard waste to you, and that includes landscapers and municipalities. You got to have a good location. They want to carry that stuff for miles and miles and miles. The hauling costs really add up quick, especially for a small landscaper who's got grass clippings or tree clippings. Now, the wood's not usually a big problem. Everybody wants the wood. They break that down into a nice mulch, but the composting product, that comes with grass and leaves and things like that, is a little bit harder to deal with, and it's more than just throwing it in a pile and occasionally turning it over. They have to add certain chemicals to it, and there's a lot of requirements on that. But they are looking, again, we are doing a study. We're going back and looking into data to see if there's enough feeder now, and if Republic could be a feeder if they're not able to deal with their yard waste. So it may make some sense, but that solution is not going to come quickly. Thank you.
Thanks for the explanation.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Under the engineer award contract to Gregory Trucking, the amount of $125,800 for limestone aggregate for Lorraine County Highway Department. 2 bids received on February 22nd, this being the most complying with specifications. Engineer estimate of $130,000 will be paid for an MVGT account.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement for sanitary lateral replacement with John and Sally Killian, owners of property at 68 Edgewood Drive, Grafton, to repair the sanitary sewer lateral at the estimated cost of $1,700. Upon completion, this amount, along with the associated court costs, will be certified to Lorraine County Auditor as a special assessment based upon the agreement.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Accept on behalf of Eden Township trustees the improvements and enter into 1-year maintenance guarantee for the reserve at Winfield Farm Subdivision Number 2 off Chestnut Ridge Road. Winfield Farm Development LLC, engineer inspected and approved construction of the improvement, and the plat of the subdivision is recorded in volume 106, page 24, Lorraine County Record Plats as follows. Winfield Lane, Township Road Number T, 329, Chestnut Ridge Road North to corporate limit of North Ridgeville, 0.145 miles lane.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Public comment?
Anyone wishing to address the board this morning? Yes, come on up. You can grab either podium you want, whichever one you want, the right or the left. Good morning.
to the commissioners and to Mr. Innes and Cordes, and welcome new commissioner.
We know you,
Thank
but you
you.
have to introduce yourself.
Oh, I just had to remember. I always forget that part. I'm sorry. Teresa Shea, 519 East Avenue, Elyria, Ohio. I am here today about bus service. Now I see a new vision since I was last here. I have seen that the loop bus that is new is a beginning of something great. I have seen a name and logo will help. This is what I designed for you. On the buses.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
No, and you can put the county commissioners on the bottom.
Get it.
Or any other thing else. So people can
Get around
recognize.
area.
Nice.
It's a very compact design, so you could have little signs where the buses are, and everybody could use them. And it's so you're original. Isn't that cool?
That's very nice.
Very cool.
And positive, yes. So that's my gift to you from me.
We'll take it.
Well, I did put copyright on there. I got dumb. Okay, but that is for that. That would solve a lot of problems, and then it's a, so I'll go back to my notes here, though. Okay, I have seen a name and logo will help. Okay, it can be on the outside of the bus and small signs where stops are. Then this will be an original start to a unique beginning. People who I represent, who are from poor neighborhoods, will know after a while, because of the logo, that they can use that bus to get around Elyria. With the help of others, you will be unique and apply for grants. Usually, when I come, I tell about someone who I've met who is struggling with transportation issues. Today, I am the person. As many low-income people struggle, so do I. Not enough food, unexpected happenings. All of us in the world have things that are hard to cope with. In the midst of recent chaos, I found myself joining the ranks of the frozen walkers on my street, East Avenue. Of course, I saw buses all going south when I was going north. I was walking frozen. I hoped I would not fall by the wayside in the cold and snow. What may be 1 mile felt like 3. It's a humbling experience. Please keep us all in mind. Frozen faces haunt me in winter, and other seasons have their own perils. You can inspire others by expanding your program after the core is in place and the logo used. So it was after Commissioner Kokoski said, "Oh, I thought you would like that." And I thought I would take a different look at it. And then this wonderful idea came, and I just saw that it's just a very original thing. So I thank you for starting that, and I hope it can expand nicely. But thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What did you say? Oh.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Baxter, 160 Burns Road, Elyria, Ohio. And this morning I want to applaud the Board of Commissioners for your actions in regard to asking the state to abandon HB 70. I'm a Lorraine High graduate myself, but a long-term Elyria resident.
I thought you were a pioneer. I didn't know you were. Okay.
So I'm a steelman and a pioneer at both in the heart. But HB 70 has been a disaster for Lorraine and some other cities, and I fear there's more to come if it doesn't get abandoned. And I want to continue to view, your board as leaders in Lorraine County, leaders of the cities and the townships and all that, and this is a great step. I really, really do appreciate what you've done there. A second issue that concerns me is the revisions to the gas tax. I think as it had been proposed at a 64% increase, I think the gas tax was far too high. And I think there's been some revisions. I think there's some work going on down in Columbus to change that. I'm glad to see that they're looking at doing some registration fees on both the electric vehicles and hybrids, because that's contributing to the problem, as well as the higher mileage cars. The gas tax does pay for our roads, and we need that. But a 64% increase just wasn't the way to go. So if there's anything that you can do in urging our legislators in Columbus to think differently on that, that would be appreciated as well. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Any others wishing to make public comment this morning? Seeing none,
Mr. Cortez?
we'll go to Administrator Cordes for his report.
Except to remind you about the executive session, I yield to council this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis?
I do have two matters of pending litigation for executive session.
Commissioners?
Well, my report's going to be a little bit longer than normal because I'm going to have a video coming up here in a second.
It's going to be longer than mine?
Yes, it's going to be longer than yours.
All right, I'm
Probably
gonna-
not
I'll get-
longer
I'll get
than
the
mine
stopwatch
this
out. We really
week.
got to verify the accuracy of that statement.
Well, Wednesday evening, Commissioner Sweet and I had a wonderful dinner at Sage and Seed Restaurant at Lorraine County Community College with President Marcia Ballinger and Mr. Cortez. And if you haven't been there, you need to go. It's an exceptional experience. If you haven't gone, you're definitely missing out. Right?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays,
Okay.
5 to 8, maybe?
Yeah, it's about 5 to 8.
5 to 8.
But just those 2 days of the week,
Yeah.
because it is a teaching facility.
Right.
And they are going to school while you're there.
They are, and they are so excited about their future too. Everybody that's serving is also culinary students, so they learn the whole experience of cooking and serving, and they're wonderful young people. So we had a great time.
Order bananas Foster.
They light it on
Yeah,
fire.
they don't make that
and
for
it's
everybody.
delicious. And then Thursday, we all attended the State of the City address for Lorraine at the old Antlers Ballroom, which what a blast from the past that was. I didn't even know it was still a thing, but it was nicely done. Spectrum Vocational Center are the ones that cater the food, and I've had their food on a lot of different occasions, both breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's actually people with spectrum, on the spectrum of autism. And they do a great job, and the prices are really good. And if you're interested in finding out more about them, you can go Spectrum. It's like Spectrum, like the cable company, SPECTRUM .Cheryl Weber, and it's CHERYLWEBER@gmail.com. They do really, really good work there. Thursday evening, I attended Vision 2020 at Lorraine County Community College. To give you an idea how important continuing education is, one of the slides that they put up, they had the median income of like Lorraine and Elyria, and they are about $25,000 a year compared to Avon's median income, which is 90+ thousand a year. So we're really lucky to have such a great community college right in our backyard, and it's, like I said, very important to get that education, which leads me to Friday. I attended a Bridges Out of Poverty training, and it was an all-day workshop, and it's a philosophy more than a program, and it helps to see the process and the lack of time people have when they're trapped in poverty. It's the cycle of poverty. Everything is, like Teresa said earlier, there's a lot of chaos, and they don't have time to plan things. It was a very eye-opening experience for me, and I'm going to have a video if you can get that started, Mr. Cortez. It's talking about people that are on the welfare system, and once they are on it, this is kind of why it's so hard to get off. So here we go. You need volume. There we go. That's the cliff.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Excuse me, thanks.
That's Franklin County down in Columbus. So I mean, this is what people are facing every day, and it's very difficult for people, especially single moms, trying to raise their kids and get out of poverty. So I don't know. There's not a whole lot of $23 an hour jobs out there, especially for somebody that doesn't have any continuing education. So that's the struggle that a lot of our people in Lorraine County, and not just in Lorraine County, but all over, that's what they're faced with. So just thought it was a really good video to show you. And then let's see, what else did we do this week? Commissioner Sweet and I went to Kohl's and Amherst. What day was that? Friday? Friday. They're one of the restaurants and bars participating in our Mardi Gras week, which is this Saturday at Lorraine County Community College. 5:30 for dinner. It's a tasting, and 7 o'clock for the show. $15 for both, or $5 if you just want to go to the show. Two-time Grammy winner Terrence Simeon will be there from straight out of New Orleans. It should be a great time. I can't wait.
It's going to be fun.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
It will be.
There's about 360 pre-sales already.
Okay.
But we want to double that.
For the dinner or for the show? Or
both?
Both? Okay.
But we want to double that.
Yeah.
I was talking to folks last night. There is some confusion. People don't seem to know that we have a concluding event Saturday night. Somehow we're not generating enough of the word out there. Please post it on your social media and share it. Mm-hmm. The more people that share it via social media, the bigger the audience is. You may have to explain that there's a concert. Commissioner, you wanted to say something. I'll wait for you if you're going to say more.
Oh, I'm just waving the postcard.
That's the college's postcard they sent out. They reached a lot of people. Please come out. We're trying to establish this. It's first year. It's always tough the first year. We're trying to get an event that we can have annually. Put a pin in the map that people can look forward to coming here around this time of year. And in order to increase the restaurants and the establishments that are involved in this, we got to demonstrate to them that we can bring an audience. We can bring people to the shops. I myself was down at Nancy's over the weekend. They had some Creole dishes and shrimp and grits and a few things, and I was pleased to see it up on their board with their specials and on the way in. So there's a few eateries. I'm just not marketing them, but please go out and visit these establishments. Lorraine County suffering from an identity crisis in the food market. We have a few, but very nice fine eating establishments. But we got to make our own venues here. We don't own Cedar Point. We don't have Major League Baseball, football. We have a Rock Hall of Fame. So we're trying between two major destinations to be a stop or at least to keep people here. Remember, we're a donor county. People spend more of their recreational dollars outside Lorraine County than they do inside Lorraine County, and that suffers our community. At the very least, we try to end being a donor county. I don't know if we'll ever become a recipient county. We just don't have a lot, but we do hope that people will stay here more often. So it's going to be a great event. Please share it, get the word out, and we'll hopefully have a great report back next week.
I hope so too. So Monday we all met with one of our local providers to get some insight on our Recovery One project. We're still working on a solution for that. We're not there yet, but we are working on that. Yesterday we held our Grafton Road ditch hearing, which we just continued, so not a lot going on there. And then yesterday afternoon, I attended the Harvest for Hunger campaign kickoff. I was the honorary chair last year for the campaign. Now this year, President Marcia Ballinger is going to be the new chair, and I know she's going to do a great job. She's got a lot of energy. And then last night, Ted Kalo, our former commissioner, now clerk of courts in the city of Lorraine, had his Fat Tuesday fundraiser, and he had a really nice event last night. So. And then I just want you to remember something for later on. The ends don't always justify the means. And you'll figure that out later. End of my report.
Okay, I'll figure that one out. The Lorraine State of the City address by Mayor Rittenauer. Just want to congratulate him on the job that he's doing and City Council is doing. It was certainly nice being back in the old grand ballroom there at the Antlers. Was really pleased to see that Governor Mike DeWine decided to have his State of the State address back in the People's House. Instead of all the road trips that we had seen in the past, it was difficult for people to get into those things because mostly those tickets were handed out to people who were supporters of the administration, so it wasn't like it was just open to anybody from the public to come in for the State of the State address. But Governor DeWine, I think, is heading his heart in the right place. Obviously, as was brought up earlier, the gas tax, I think he spent a good 15 minutes of the start of his State of the State talking about the need for that. The gas tax hasn't been raised in 14 years. So I think we've managed to get through 14 years without an increase in the gas tax. However, the money is now depleted. That's needed badly for the roads. The governor has stressed that he feels that by asking for the 18-cent increase, that is the bare minimum that he feels is needed and should be asked for to help generate about $1.2 billion that's needed for our roads. Of course, the governor had come up with the idea that I did not support bonding of the turnpike, and as a result of that, we'll be servicing debt on that through 2048. So credit card payments will be on that one for quite some time. And we're servicing debt at $380 million a year based upon all the borrowing that was done. So if the governor used to talk about fiscal responsibility, but that was the road we went down. But nonetheless, that credit card's all tapped out. So certainly hope that folks will rally around supporting the governor. We need to improve the infrastructure. We also need more money for transit. As my colleague just pointed out, we have a lot of folks who don't have their own vehicles. They need to be able to get to work and get to the doctor to stay healthy. And so the legislature is probably going to have to do that more from general revenue funds instead of anything that's gas tax related, because that needs to go into infrastructure. So also this morning I wanted to raise an issue of what I consider great concern to the county. Lorraine County is being overrun by an addiction epidemic. Our county is averaging 60 overdoses a month. An alarming number of infants in our county are born to drug-addicted mothers. 75% of children are placed in foster care in our county due to their parent or parents abusing drugs, and 1 out of 6 veterans struggle with addiction. It is critical that we move in a new direction. We must tear down the current silo system and work together. Lorraine County is the last county in the state of Ohio with a separate mental health board and an alcohol and drug addiction services board. Today, I'm asking my colleagues in this board to support merging the two boards to better serve our loved ones and families who are battling addiction and mental illness. Let's take the expertise of each staff and board and bring them together. Let's change the daily conversation of one group only talking about mental health while another group only talks about addiction. Let's make the daily mission about working together by sharing knowledge and resources to better serve our community. Mental illness is a disease. Addiction is a disease. Addiction is a brain disorder where the drugs hijack the brain. Professionals talk about a co-occurring disorder or dual disorder, but our county doesn't see co-funding or dual funding addressing the epidemic. We can do better for our families, and we must do better. Combining the two boards will make for a more effective way to treat people who are struggling. Should we look for efficiencies in this merger? Absolutely. However, this is secondary to working together to build and deliver a more effective way to treat people and put them on the road to recovery. Today, I'm asking my colleagues in this board to support a plan where this merger will take place by July 1st of this year. We would instruct the county administrator and the assistant prosecutor to meet with leadership of each board to develop a merger plan to ultimately form a new board, a separate board, a combined board. Their thoughts and feedback will be important to the merger process. I believe this merger is the responsible thing to do and that it makes common sense. I believe we are stronger when we work together, and that by working together, we will find a more effective way to treat people battling the disease of mental illness and the disease of addiction in Lorraine County. And I certainly would entertain any thoughts that my colleagues might have.
Well, I know we are the last county to have the boards merged, and part of the issue that we've thought was that because mental health is such a large entity, that addiction would get kind of sucked up and forgotten about if they were put together. So that's kind of why we held off doing that, especially in the wake of the opiate epidemic. But we are seeing that these two boards do need to work better together. I know they meet maybe once in a while as combine the boards together, but not as a really one solid board. And I think that's probably something that we should definitely look into. I would support having the administrator look into that. And as you know, I have children that are addicts, recovering addicts, and you know, it is a co-occurring problem. If you didn't have a mental health problem prior to using drugs, you will have one after you start using drugs. So one doesn't, you know, you're going to have one or the other, both, mostly both. So I would support looking into that. I don't know if we can get that done by July. It's a pretty aggressive time frame, but I know Mr. Cortez, once he gets on something, he's like a pit bull.
I'm familiar with the regulations. I've looked at them over the years a couple times. There's been interest from the board. I don't see it as something that can't be done by July 1st. I mean, clearly, we'll have to develop a plan, work with the leadership of each board, and look at transitional issues. But I don't know that we need to make it overly complicated, or nor does it need to be overly complicated. So I'm I'm believing that if July 1st is your date, I can get all that accomplished with council. All I ask is that you make it a firm date so I have something I'm working towards rather than a loosey-goosey, we kind of want to do this. Those things make it hard for me to exert some will onto the process because there's no clear line of sight to an end game. I just want to know, where it ends so that we can make that happen on behalf of the board, and I will bring that plan back to you in short order so you can at least look at the plan, but once we establish the date, we have a finish line.
We also have to notify the state because they have people
Correct.
on the board that they have to appoint.
Briefly, you'll end up with a similar size one board than the two that we have. 12 will be appointed by the commissioners locally, 6 by the state. We'll look to some of the members of each board as possible members of a new board, but the code does not require that specifically. A temporary governance model, temporary board staffing, and then work them through, establishing themselves on a first meeting. I don't see it as being difficult. And of course, continuation of contracts and the things that they're involved with. There'll be a little uncertainty. Change always creates uncertainty, but if we have the absolute date, it's there, it's going to happen. You have to get on board with it.
Well, I'd like to weigh in on this. Ohio has the highest incident of death per capita for drug overdose. And knowing that and recognizing and aligning that with the 60 per month that we have here in the county, it says to me, and I'm newer at the board, but it says to me we should be at the forefront of this. And our structures are really obsolete when you compare it to the structures of the other combined boards. So I would see an urgency of creating a path to achieving this by the July 1st deadline. One more person who suffers from an overdose death is one too many. So I'm in full support of the action, Commissioner Lundy.
Well, I'd like to put that in the form of a motion that we instruct the county administrator and the assistant prosecutor to meet with leadership of each board for the purpose of merging the ADIS board and the mental health board by July 1st of this year.
As a suggestion, we will meet with them after we develop a plan that's agreeable to this board. You're the appointing authority on those positions, and then I'll have conversation with them.
Okay. That would be my motion.
Second.
Anything further? Mr. Lundey?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Sueda?
Aye.
And that completes my report.
I think yours might have been longer.
It was. Your video was better, though.
Hold on, mine's long.
Oh, boy.
But I talk fast. So, first of all, I will back up and reiterate what Commissioner Kukowski said. Sage and Seed is a wonderful dining experience. You do need to make time to get out to LCC, see what the culinary students are doing. Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, just really a wonderful experience. Thursday morning, I had the opportunity of joining joining Council President Brian Burgess and David Ashenhurst and a few others out in Oberlin for a non-official breakfast. They were essentially just filling me in on some of the things that are happening out in their direction as well as throughout the state, and I'm starting to consider some of my appointments as a tour of introduction, and that was a good morning breakfast. I had the opportunity to accompany the commissioners at the State of the City address in Lorraine that afternoon. The positivity and the growth that's occurring in Lorraine is really encouraging, and I think one of the things I always recognize during the summer is they have that huge attraction of Rocking on the River, and when you have that many people in one location at one time, expanding the opportunities before and after that event are essential to keeping them within the city and introducing more of the business establishments there. So I love seeing that that's going to occur. Later the afternoon, Paul Adams at the Board of Elections gave me a full tour. I was able to firsthand view and observe all our new voting equipment, and they look like little suitcases. The storage capacity, they've got them lined up. They have, one of the things I asked him to share with me is what is, like in your experience, what's the absolute worst thing that has ever occurred on election night? And he shared with me one evening, everybody was working full speed ahead, and at that time, the scanner could only take one document at a time. It was kind of slow, and they had to hand feed it. And just before 6 o'clock, the postman delivered a huge basket of absentees that needed to be scanned. Some of the precincts, because there were especially long language on a few of the levies, were running out of paper, and at the drop of a hat, somebody had to jump in, take over this scanning issue. They were sending anybody who could get into a car with paper to deliver to the voting precinct. So he said they're hopeful that all of these new changes and the implementation of the new equipment's going to solve any of those kind of dilemmas, as well as to protect the integrity of our voting system. Friday, I was invited to the Lorraine Growth Main Street Lorraine Consortium to speak with my predecessor, Ted Kalo, and we were able to talk about, Ted was talking about a lot of the things he's doing in the Lorraine clerk position, but I had the opportunity to basically just introduce myself to the group. Again, my tour of introduction, and it was nice to visit with everybody there. In the afternoon, we had a visit or a tour out at Golden Acres, where we invited State Representative Miller and State Senator Nathan Manning to come view our facilities. We are anxious to find solutions and pathways to getting that facility functioning, and we felt that the state's view of the facility was going to implement our progress. Later that day, I got to tour the old 911 center, and I say old because within a week or so, we're going to be opening the new one. They have a few glitches they're working out, and it'll be ready to launch. There was a ribbon cutting at Uniontown Provisions downtown on Broadway after they announced the Rocking on the River schedule, and that was very well attended. And if you haven't been over there yet, it's kind of a New York-y style venue there. It's an interesting place, and the food is delicious. Commissioner Kukowski and I did our Mardi Gras visits at Coles and Cork Tree. Saturday, Labor sponsored a school board crisis meeting, informational meeting over at the Knights of Columbus in Lorraine on Oberlin Avenue. Very well attended, and it was basically a communication and informational session underscoring everything we already know, but that others maybe were not privy to. In the afternoon, the Lorraine chapter of the Negro Business Women's group had a tea, and the tea, I don't think there was tea. Now that I think of it, no, I think there was water and coffee, but it was great. It was at Brew and Stew. There was not a dry eye in the room. We had a Lorraine survivor who has, she just told her story, and it was very moving. Sunday, I was able to view the new improvements over at the Lorraine City Public Library, and if you are in that direction, you would not know you are in an old structure once you walk through the doors. It is beautiful, and it was well attended. Later that afternoon, I met with Lorraine County Rising out in Oberlin. Monday, we had our Recovery One meeting, and yesterday, I've been making sporadic visits to all of our Mardi Gras participants. I also attended Ted Kalo's fundraiser. I headed over to the Lorraine Women Democratic meeting, which, by the way, April 9th, mark your calendar. It's their annual soup and salad. All you can eat homemade soups. It's great. I think tickets are $20. The other commissioners don't know, but they have tickets to sell. I'll be dispersing those a little later. They do. And after that, I was able to shoot through Javier Espito's fundraiser at Mexican Mutual. And that wraps up my week. Thank you.
You know, with the Board of Elections, you were talking about
Yes.
that bad night. I think Lori was here when we had that flash snowstorm on a March primary, and all the poll workers, well, not all of them, but a great deal of them got stranded at the polling locations, and we had to deploy as many four-wheel drives what we could find to go out and dig them up and get the ballots back.
Wow.
So that they could be counted during the election. And you know, some of these polling places are, if you're not familiar with the local area, they're just really stuck in odd places. So when these blazing snowstorms, there was like 6 of us driving the county trying to pick up ballots, and also making sure that we had the workers so that they stayed certified, and the locks on the bags and everything like that. And even today, with all the technology you got, you know, something like that could occur, because all that still has to come back to the Board of Elections for an official count. They don't do it remotely. So there's
The last
some
election, they
trickery.
lost power in Amherst, wasn't it?
Yeah, this last
This
one,
last
but then they
one.
restored it
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
So there's always things that can happen.
There are.
Yeah, you know, Jose was the Board of Elections
Right.
person at the time, and they were calling for us. You know, they called us in a panic because they just couldn't get the ballots back to the
Yeah.
Board of Elections.
Yep.
We survived.
Good times.
Clerk's report.
Board correspondence.
Okay. Waive the reading of the correspondence.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
Seeing no other business come before the board, I would move that we go into executive session for the reasons outlined by the county administrator and the assistant county prosecutor.
Second.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Sueda.
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorraine County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.